What's up, online family? Hey, we're so grateful you are watching this message. We're in a series right now called Here Now.
We're really excited to dig into this series. We believe that there's going to be some practical information for all of us to grow in our confidence in hearing God. He's speaking to us all the time. We just need to learn how to tune in to Him.
Yeah, so hey, we hope this message is a blessing to you.
God bless you.
I guess the number one thing I want to start off with is, there's some things that, even things that I know, I needed to be reminded of. Like, I think I know it, and I've done it before, but yet, just living in life, going through life, and you kind of get in habits or whatever, you can get things turned around and you kind of start doing them backwards or whatever, and you can get misconstrued, and I need to remind myself that God lives in me and that I can hear Him. It isn't a matter of trying to hear Him, it's just hearing Him. He talks to me, and I need to recognize that what He's saying. I just trust myself that I can hear Him. We complicate things all the time. Just in general, being humans, we overthink. I personally am really good at it. I complicate things. John and I work together, and he's the polar opposite of me. And so it really helps. He points out just the way he does life is so much different than me that he's just so in the moment. Just like John is just, and I'm trying to think 5 days ahead on a lot of stuff. But yeah, we complicate things in all kinds of different areas of life, but it's simple because He's living in us. We believe things all the time. And it's simple. We just do it without even thinking about it. We believe things. Right now, I'm looking at a whole bunch of people that believe in chairs. Are you thinking very hard about it? No. And I can stand here and talk till I'm blue in the face and say, I believe that the chair will hold me up. I believe it, I believe it, I believe it. But it ain't doing a darn bit of good until I sit in it. And what looks more like work? Saying, I believe, or... Man, this looks like rest, doesn't it? Just trust in it. Just rest in it. It's simple. You can hear God. Rest in it. Just recognize it. It's simple. One of the biggest ways that I ever shut God's voice out of my life is by trying to hear Him. At what point have you ever walked up to somebody and asked them a question and then went, No! You can hear Him. So you just listen. It's pretty simple. It's easy. I love to do experiments. It's just part of who I am. I've always done it. The other day I took my brother to this was a couple months ago. I was just marveling. He's just like me. Took him to the pool here in Menominee, and we walk outside, and there's a bunch of kids about his age walking out, and I see him get this little look on his face. He just kind of circles out onto the sidewalk as they're leaving the doors or whatever, and they're going to walk past, and he gets in their way. He just kind of stands there like this, kind of quartering, they're walking past right here, and he just kind of and he shoots a little eye glance once in a while, kind of looking at him. And I was like, you little devil. That's exactly the kind of thing that I would have done. And then he comes walking up to me. I was like, what were you doing right there? He's like, I don't know, I was just experimenting, seeing what they'd do. Would they go around me? Would they bump into me? I just wanted to see what they'd do. I do that kind of stuff all the time. Try to mess with people's heads. I have a hard time with direct interaction, but I love to mess with people. So we're going to mess with some people today. So who would like to be a guinea pig? I shouldn't have led the whole thing off like that. Nate! Yeah, why not? That is important. So you're going to need to wear a blindfold. Do you want me to? No. You got it? All right. You comfy?
Yep.
You relaxed?
Yep.
All right, cool. All right.
If you're gonna hit me, don't hit my face. I'm getting married.
That's. I'll take that into consideration. All right, so first off, I'm going to have you hold your hands out with your palms up. And I'm going to place something in your hands, and I want you to tell me what it is.
Piece of wood.
Yeah? That's what you think it is?
That's what it feels like to me.
All right. All right, so now, next, I'm just going to ask you, if I was to ask you left or right, which would you say? Let's try that again. If I was to ask you left or right, what would you say? All right, now I'm going to have you can put your hands down. I'm going to have you smell a couple different things, and I want you to memorize them. And then I'm going to have you smell one again. I want you to tell me which one was which. And I spilled this in first service, so watch out. Well, this is a very dark color, and it will stain it quite well, so. But try to relax. Just listen to your nose. All right, here is smell number 1. Got it?
Yep.
All right, and here is smell number 2. Got it? All right, now tell me which one this is, number 1 or number 2?
1.
You think so?
Actually, that's completely separate.
All right, that is it. You can take your blindfold off. You did very good. Everybody give him a round of applause. That was amazing. You are 100% correct. The bat just stayed right there. It was a wooden dowel. That's what it was.
It was vanilla extract, lemon extract, and coconut maybe.
I think it was caramel, the last one, but yeah. Yeah. Good senses all around. Yeah, give him another round of applause. That was amazing. That was awesome. Let me get the lid back on this last one so we don't spill it. But no, my point is that I want to illustrate is how well we hear our body. I mean, I tried to deceive him on 3 different accounts. I showed him a bat, and then I handed him a dowel, and he knew the difference. I snapped my fingers, and then with my words, I tried to make him feel like he was wrong. Let's try that again. And also, with the smells, I gave him 2 smells, asked him which one, and he, at first, was only open to there being 2 answers, but then on a second try, he got it, which actually illustrates another point. Like, when you're asking God stuff, if you're only asking rhetorical questions and you're only got so many answers that you think he's going to answer in your head, how open are you really to what he actually thinks? But if you back up and actually open up to what he could think out of anything, then all of a sudden, like there was one time my truck broke down, and I was praying. I was asking, where should I take my truck? Who should I go to? And honestly, like I knew, like that I was kind of bound up. I could feel that I was kind of bound up on the inside, like there was a knot. And for whatever reason, I just kind of like realized, man, I need to take a step back. I was like, okay, I'm in a box. I'm taking a step back. What? What is it? And then I heard God, and God was like, you're trying to find a deal. You just want a deal. Why don't you ask me who you can bless? Oh, okay. And then all of a sudden the ball started rolling. And then we had a lot of fun. And it was awesome. But I wasn't open, so I wasn't getting an answer. And how do we get so good at this? Nate was really good at hearing his body. By the way, at any point when you were going through all that, did your body ever use English to tell you stuff? You just kind of sensed it, right? There's a lot of times that we just know things. For me, primarily, I would say God talks to me in my imagination. I get pictures. Like, it's almost like a movie. I just see things. Like that's probably the number one way that God talks to me. But like another one that is quite prevalent is I just know things. I just know it. There's no English. There's no actual conversation or whatever. It's just, and it's hard for me to then, like later if I'm trying to tell somebody, like it's, you know, it's like, well, God said this. And it's like, well, that's my interpretation of what God said, really. But yeah, it's just, you just know it. And how did we get so good at this? How did we get so good at hearing our body? We did stuff. Like, the other day, I asked my body if it was hungry. And I got an instantaneous answer. Yes. I asked my body what it was hungry for. And I got an instantaneous answer. I want pizza. And this isn't English. It's just, you just know. You know it is pizza. And not only did my body tell me that it wanted pizza, it told me it wanted it from Little Caesars. It wanted stuffed crust. It wanted pepperoni. Just bang, right there. But me and my body have spent a lot of time together making decisions and doing things. You know, when I was little, I would get a hankering. By the way, that's the title of the sermon is Hankerings. I'd get a hankering. And you know, you just try it. You follow it. And sometimes you make mistakes. For a while, I would get hankerings about mushroom and Swiss cheeseburgers. Like for a month, it was a mushroom and Swiss cheeseburger, but it wasn't quite hitting that hankering. But it just kind of kept going along, kept making mistakes until one day, bam! I found me a mushroom and Swiss cheeseburger that was perfect. You know. But God lives in us. He lives in us. And seeing that is so vital. Like, he has access to us, who we are, our brain. He's in here. And he can speak to us through all the channels that we have. Like, you are a spirit being. You are, like, that's who you are. You were created as a spirit man, and you were put in a body. Your body has eyes, ears, nose, mouth, can sense touch, taste, whatever. And your spirit man has all those senses. All throughout the Bible, there are different representations of how there's something in heaven, in the spirit world, and then earth has a representation of it. So you can see, hear, smell, taste, sense, everything with your spirit man. It's just a different channel. And you can, your mind, your consciousness, your awareness is able to perceive from both sides. But if you're too busy listening to the one side, if you're so wrapped up in the one world, it can distract you from hearing from the other channels. The other day, I was sitting right where Shara is right now. That's my lovely wife right there with her lovely mother. And she came in and sat right where Diane is. And I literally was sitting there listening, and Shara walked past me. I didn't even know it. Never saw her, never heard her, never nothing, because I was so wrapped up in something else. I was just not aware of it. And we can get so wrapped up in life, trying to do whatever. God is talking to us. He is talking to us. He's showing us things. But if we're too wrapped up in something else, how aware we are? It's an awareness thing, not a hearing thing. So one thing that God was showing me, I left my iPad over here. First time ever trying to use one of these things. Got up here first service, and I was like, what is the password again? Oh, my goodness. So we're going to pull up Romans 12, 1 and 2 in the Message. So here's what I want you to do. God helping you, that's so important. God helping you take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing that you can do for him. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out. Readily recognize what he wants from you and quickly respond to it. Unlike the culture around you always dragging you down to its level of immaturity, God brings the best out of you, develops well-formed maturity in you. It's a lifestyle. Like this world has a lifestyle, and it's easy when you're listening to those channels. You just go about You get information from your body, and you make decisions. And there's an entirely different lifestyle that is just as simple. It's just different senses, different sight, different hearing, motivated by God, and He's in you. And you just live by it. Let go of one thing, like God has, through different times, He's like shown me, like it'll just be like a little, like just like a lot of times for me, it's just like a little pinprick in my heart. But it's just like I'll be in the middle of acting on a voice that my body has, a hankering of some sort, and he'll just go, and I'll know that I'm listening to my body right now, and that's something that I could let go of and open up for Him to talk to me. And like this is what I literally did this for 2 months and never knew what it was, and all of a sudden one day God was like, by the way, that's fasting. Wow. And I have tried fasting several different times, and I would get so, there's something I'm gonna hear God or whatever, and it always would end up being some sort of in my head. I would get misconstrued that I was somehow earning God's approval, or like I'm earning God's voice or something like that. It was like a works mentality or something. And it's not that at all. It's just switching your awareness. It's not earning. He's talking to you already. It's just opening up a little bit of awareness to be able to recognize what He's already been saying. But there was something. We'll walk back over here. Huh? Oh yeah. Let's pull up Galatians 5. It is absolutely clear that God has called you to a free life. Just make sure that you don't use this freedom as an excuse to do whatever you want to do and destroy your freedom. Rather, use your freedom to serve one another in love. That's how freedom grows. For everything we know about God's word is summed up in a single sentence. Love others as you love yourself. That's an act of true freedom. If you bite and ravage each other, watch out. In no time at all, you will be annihilating each other, and where will your precious freedom be then? My counsel is this: live freely, animated and motivated by God's Spirit. Then you won't feed the compulsions of selfishness, for there is a root of sinful self-interest in us that is at odds with a free spirit. Just as the free spirit is incompatible with selfishness, these two ways of life are antithetical, however you pronounce that, to each other. So that you cannot live at times one way and at times another way according to how you feel on any given day. Why don't you choose to be led by the Spirit and so escape the erratic compulsions of law-dominated existence? And if you look at this in other versions, I really love the way that the Message lays it out so simply. It's just simple. And that's really what I want to bring out today, is how simple this is. We complicate things, but it's just go out and do it. Just live it. But if you look at it in other versions, it really lays out the deeds of the flesh and the fruits of the Spirit in this passage right here. And those lay out basically the difference, how you can tell. It basically, if you're getting an urge, if you're getting a hankering of some sort, one of the best ways to tell is like Pastor Paul laid out when he was talking about hearing God from the Word, is I think what was it, Hebrews, where it talks about the Word is alive and sharper than a two-edged sword and dividing the spirit and the soul and the bone and marrow, or however it goes. Yeah. Here's a paraphrase, but yeah. But that is a really good way. Get in the Bible, read the Word, and it helps you to discern the two, be able to tell the difference between your flesh and your spirit. And it really lays out, basically the flesh is selfish. The flesh it's life sucking. It wants more. It's insecure. It doesn't have the freedom to reach out. But the Spirit is free, and it has the freedom to reach out and touch someone else's life, share with them, show them love, do something for them. A lot of times what God shows me is to do something for someone. Not even say anything, just do it. Just go, and there's a lot of things that I have done that I don't know for sure yet. We just go out and try it. See what happens. There's this thing that I've been tying into a little bit lately. I've brought up Fortnite, I don't know how many times up here. And, that's the thing. God lives in you. He lives in you, and he gets to show you things. No matter what you're doing, he'll be trying to use what's in your hand to show you stuff. I own dogs. God's constantly showing me things with my dogs. It's awesome. There's a part of me that would love to recommend that everyone get a dog, but that's not where the answer is. That'd be religious. Expect God to show you things with whatever you've got. But with Fortnite, there's been several people who have told me that basically playing with a keyboard and mouse is superior. You have more control. You have more input. You can do more with a keyboard and mouse than with a controller. Controller has less buttons. Also, less surface area. Like, you got a little joystick, and it only got like about an inch of movement, where you got mouse, you've got all this movement, all this freedom to be able to do stuff with it. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it. So I went and got the cheapest keyboard you could possibly find, just to, and it was a piece of junk. I'm not kidding. It was horrible. But I spent like 4 hours the first day. I was getting masking tape out, and I was drawing on the masking tape, sticking it on all the buttons, and I was going back to the keybinds, and I had the settings. You can pick which buttons you want to be which command. And I was like, oh, this one's going to be to move forward, and this one's going to be to move this way. And I spent all kinds of time in study. Like, I was trying to figure out how to do everything perfectly and what would be comfortable and what would be the best way for me to be able to reach that one, and that finger's not as talented as this one, and it was really messed up, because like, I had so much muscle memory with my thumb from running that joystick to move, but these fingers really didn't ever do much. Like, in fact, on a controller, you pretty much just use these 2 fingers, and these 3 are just dead weight. But with a keyboard, you all of a sudden you're using all your fingers, so now it's just 4 hours I spent studying and trying to, like, going back and like not playing the game, just going over all the details. And finally, when I went to play the game, yeah, sure, I had some familiarity. I kind of knew where things were, but man, I had to look back every time. Like, I had to make sure I didn't know where my hand was. If it was wandering, I had to look, and it was frustrating. And I was not good at it. All that study, all those 4 hours really didn't benefit me that much. There was some benefit, but it wasn't that much. And it wasn't until I started practicing it that I started improving. And even then, it was limited. I was frustrated. I was just angry a lot. And I would switch back, and I'd grab the, I'm looking at John a lot because he's heard my frustration. But I'd go back to the controller for a while. And then that got really frustrating, because jumping back and forth all the time was like, I wasn't improving on anything. I was just kind of like playing this middle ground. I was lukewarm. And then all of a sudden I watched this YouTube video, and this guy said, you know what? It's going to be frustrating. It's going to suck. You're going to hit the wrong button. But you know what? Just dive in. Do it. You will get it. Eventually, your finger will just know where the buttons are. I can't explain it. It'll just work. All of a sudden, you will become comfortable. And when he was saying that, something snapped in my mind, and I could see myself doing it. And I mean, instantly, I went back and played, and I was better. My improvement accelerated so much just by seeing myself successful, knowing that it was there, that I could do it. That's the number one thing. If there's anything that I'm able to communicate today, is that you can do it. You were designed for it. Are you kidding me? You were designed for it. You think God just made us to wander around? No, he wanted a relationship with us. He wanted a family. He wanted to be able to talk to you. I remember one of the first things that Pastor Paul ever brought up when Shara and I went in for premarital, whatever, like you do the meetings about talking about what marriage life is going to be. One of the first things he brought up is the number one thing about relationships they break down from a lack of communication. Communication is vital to a relationship. Do you think God might want to communicate with us a little bit? Yeah. It's important. And he made you to be able to hear him. He wants you to be able to hear him. You can do it. For sure. The other day, I was standing in my living room, and all of a sudden, just God started playing a movie in my head. I was trying to hear him and not doing very well at it. And God just started playing a movie in my head. I was back in the theater watching Infinity War. Has anyone seen Infinity War? No. We got a whole bunch of people who haven't seen Infinity War. It is ridiculous. I wouldn't recommend it. I personally don't like it. But there is this one character in the movie named Thor. That's right, I just mentioned Thor in church. But his hammer in a previous movie gets broke. He's got this big, stupid hammer, and it's so heavy, and only one who's worthy can pick up the hammer. He cannot pronounce R. My name is Thor. No, it's Thor. He has... His voice is the perfect combination of gravelly baritone and constipation. It really is. But at one point in the movie, he wants to make this new axe, the Stormbreaker or whatever, and he needs it to go do battle with this other dude. And in order to melt down the metal for this super powerful whatever axe, he has to harness the power of this star, and it shoots a beam of energy at this kiln, and it melts down the metal or whatever. Well, there's all, I mean, it's so realistic. It's so accurate. There's like all these steel bands that are going around this star, and they all line up to make this like portal to be able to focus the energy and all that. And they get the star running because it had died, and they were able to get it running, and they get it fired up, and the portal, the little thing that holds the door open, breaks. And it cuts it off. There's no more beam of energy coming from this star, and it's not, no, they can't melt the whatever magic metal and stuff. But all of a sudden, this particular scene is going through my head, and God was showing me, he's like, Thor, at one point, he's like, He says he's going to go hold the portal open. And this portal, by what chance, has handles that he can grab a hold of and pull. And, of course, he's got arms like as big as my body. He just, it's just like this super manly macho moment where all of his might, he's holding this portal open, whatever. And there's this, and the beam of energy has to literally go around him. And it's just like dramatic in Hollywood and all that stuff. But God was showing it to me. He's like, that's the way you think about life. You think in order to get me into something, you got to get in there and hold the portal open. But really, because we live in this world and we've got all these habits, the way we think, negative imagination, negative expectations, we're literally believing we're holding that portal. Like what we're doing is holding that portal shut. It's spring-loaded. If you just let go, it flies open. And that just played in my mind, It's just like all the cool ways. Like that's one thing too. If I have a conversation with you, I see you, hear you, and if we hug, I touch you, all simultaneously. It all can happen all at once. It's not that it just has to be one thing or another. He lives in me. He can talk. He lives in you. He can talk to you with all of the senses at once. In fact, he'd love to be able to use us to express himself in every way at once, all the time. To be able to love people through us. One of the things that he's shown me different times, like I'll get like he'll show me, like somebody will come walking up, and I'll get like all of a sudden I'll kind of get this like oh, this is an opportunity. And then I'll really overthink it. Like, okay, God, what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to say? Do you know Jesus? Can I show you a picture of a cross? Can I somehow act out how this whole thing went and oh, he loves you. And like get all canned and weird about it. And like one time I was sitting there, I was like, this guy is talking to me. He's literally talking to me. And I'm like, my mind is just whipping on how to, oh God, what do you want to say to me? And all of a sudden he's like, chill out. Like, the fact that he got that through to me is amazing. Chill out. Enjoy this guy. He's a person. He's my kid. I love him. Love him. Get to know his name. Listen to what he's talking about. Just experience him right now. Like Stephen brought up how in Revelations 3:21, behold, I stand at the door and knock. Well, some people aren't answering the door. But you are a physical person that can walk right up to him and talk to him. And if you open the door on your end, you can be a portal into their life where even if their door is closed, you can inspire them through your interaction to go open their door. So before we got off on that, help me out. Where was I going with that? No, that is like the fact. Like the one thing that God has shown me is how He, like my dogs. That my dogs are not as smart as me. Hate to break it to you, but I am smarter than a dog. Believe it or not. And when I trained them, I tried to get them to understand my ways, what I wanted from them. A dog just has its instincts, and it'll chew everything up if you let it, and it'll just run around, pee on the floor. But I have higher ways than that. I want them to pee outside. I want them to sit when I say so. Come when they're called. That's a really big one. And you know what? The first time they ever did it, they didn't do it perfectly. If I got a little bit of compliance, a little bit, just any little action, I was like, yes, awesome. I wasn't like, doggone it, you messed up. I wanted you to sit immediately, and I wanted your butt flat on the floor. No, they even just dipped their butt. I was like, all right, we're going in the right direction, Encouragement. But God's way smarter than me, and He's more aware of way more than me. He's just trying to help me understand a little bit, and I don't need to get it perfect. We're playing with the keybinds. I messed up a lot. I read a study. There was a article I read that talked about how you only have 5 to 10% retention on something that somebody tells you or something that you read. But the way you can get 75 to 90% retention on it, and these are just numbers. It just proves that it's better. You could get 100%. But you get 75 to 90% retention, according to this study, if you practice it, do it. And the number one factor in it is making mistakes. Once you make mistakes, if you only can concentrate so much when someone's talking, but once you actually go out and make a mistake, it forces your brain to actually concentrate and go, okay, how can I correct that? So don't be afraid of making mistakes. We can do this. He designed us to hear Him. He lives in us. You can do it. You do hear Him. Just recognize it. Become aware of what you want to be aware of. Let's when anybody, I've probably told this before, but with Shara, I wanted that girl. I fell for that girl, and I wanted her for 1 year and 4 months before she ever gave me a second thought. And the cool thing about it is she will tell. She'll tell the story back, and people will ask I mentioned Micah to you, and she'll be like, yeah, I wasn't having it. No. And it would really hurt some people. Like the old me, it would have destroyed me. But I've realized, though, that in the process of that, in the process of me and God, I knew that I wanted God's will in my life, but I also was scared to death of what He would say. I was scared to death that He might want me to not get married, or that worse yet, He would want me to marry somebody that I didn't like. I wasn't attracted to. I wasn't, That's ridiculous, isn't it? The guy, literally, I can't even wrap my mind around the idea of being God, being the creator of the universe, and becoming a man, lowering myself that much, being subjected to a human body in a fallen world. That in itself. And then, on top of that, to die on a cross. Die the worst death possible. For me. Why? If he did that, why wouldn't I trust him? Why wouldn't I trust him with what he says? Why wouldn't I dive into whatever he's saying? He loves me. He actually knows what's best. So it took quite a while for me to actually open up. It took me like 2 months. I knew that I was supposed to do it. I knew, just like the senses thing. I just knew that I was supposed to do it, but I didn't want to. Finally, one day I broke down and I was like, okay, God, I trust you. I trust you. If you say that it's not Shara, I'm okay. If you say that it's somebody else, I'm okay. If you say it's nobody, I'm okay because I got you. And then God started talking to me and he started showing me stuff. But it wasn't until I was open. And after that, I was so much more free. I was a different person. I was not bound up. He said, it says in Galatians 5:1, it was for freedom that he set us free, not so that we could be bound up by insecurities in this flesh, so that we could live as a free spirit. And after that, God was showing me, he was like talking to me in my thoughts, and he also was using my imagination, and he was also using hankerings. And he was like, what do you want to do? Because there was all kinds of different people who were saying different things. They were like, telling me how to get a girl's attention, whatever. You got to be a jerk. You got to, And I wanted to be nice. Everybody said nobody ever agreed with that. They were like, no, don't be nice. That's how you end up in the friend zone. Well, I was in the friend zone. But God was like, what do you want? In your heart of hearts, deep down, what is it that you want to do? I want to take that girl fruit. I want to show up at her work with fruit. I want to show up at her house with fruit. I want to buy that girl fruit. And then God's like, do it. So I did it. I just went out and I started buying fruit. I bought berries. I bought strawberries, blackberries, blueberries. I bought apples, peaches, any kind of fruit. I would take it to her at work, and for a while she was like, okay. But I was a different person because I was free. And there was times when I would struggle with things, but I knew what to do with it because I had experience. Like me and God had been doing whatever, and I was growing, and he was showing me stuff. And I didn't, it wasn't necessarily perfect right away. But eventually, I just kept going back to him, and he kept showing me more stuff, and I got more and more free. And the more free I got, Cher started going, hey, who's that over there? So when she says stuff about like, yeah, I wasn't looking, yeah, no, he was not on my radar. I was like, well, yeah, that was a totally different person. But the other thing I want to illustrate here is we're so good at the flesh. We're so good at the body because we practice it all the time. We make mistakes. We figure out what we did wrong. We correct it. We establish a relationship with our body. We have communication. Just diving into the simplest little things that God shows us. Taking a girl fruit. Is that complicated? It's actually pretty simple. But then, now, that's it feels the same. It's a hankering. I want to do something. I want to reach out in love and do something for my wife. And it literally, the other day, I was in the grocery store, and Shara had a list of stuff for me to get, and all of a sudden, towards the end of it, I all of a sudden got this hankering, a hunger to get Shara pickles. And before it was just fruit in general. Now it was pickles. Specifically, I'm growing. It's cool. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. It's just pickles. There's so much more of God. This is just like scratching the iceberg. He's so awesome, though. He wants into the little things. And then I got the pickles. I was already putting them in the basket, and all of a sudden he was like, get the petite ones. It was just a hankering. It was just like a hunger. Oh, get the petite ones. And I was on the phone with Sharon, and I was like, what kind of pickles do you like? Because I was kind of testing this thing. I was checking it out. What's her? She's like, I don't know. We used to get the really small ones. She didn't say petite, but I was like, oh, good enough. Woo! Thank you. Recognizing something cool. But you can do it. Just recognize it. Do it. Walk it out. Make mistakes. And you know what? There's so many times when I try to, out of insecurity, God will show me to do something, and I think I got to tell someone, well, God really told me to tell you this before I even bother doing what it was. Or, well, God really showed me that I should do this. Or, well, and it's like an insecurity because heaven forbid, if I mess up, it'd be on me. I'd really like if God could just kind of, instead of just diving in and doing it. And it makes the whole thing weird. Not always. But it can make the whole thing weird if you get all kind of over thoughtful about it. I'm just waving this microphone. Why do I even have a microphone? But there's all kinds of things that I have done that I have no idea where, I mean, you know, like if it was a mistake or not. But, you know, there's a lot of things. I'll just do it and then just kind of like walk away and be like, well. You know, and then there's like sometimes week or so later, someone will come up and be like, man, that really, wow, that was cool. And it's like, yes, I heard you. That was awesome. Thank you. Thank you. You're speaking to me. I realize it. And other times it's just like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was just me. But get back in the Bible. You know, like, you know, if you're questioning things, get back in the Bible. It divides things. It shows you things. Yesterday, we were going down the road and Shara saw a billboard for Hardee's, and doggone it, she got inspired to hear from her body that we needed to go to Hardee's. It's the same way. You read the Bible, and then God has another avenue to inspire his own voice in you. You become aware of it. I think that's all I got.
Hey church family, Gary here. We want to talk about some of the ways that you can give. One of the ways you can give is with text messaging. So send a text message to 77977 saying, love giving, and then wait a second for the response. Click the link, set the amount you want to give, whether it's a reoccurring gift, and then hit give. Another way to give is on the website. Go to www.wearelovechurch.com. Up at the top, you're going to see a word saying give. Click that. You'll see a button that says click here to give. So go ahead and click it. And then it's going to take you to a page asking you the amount, whether it's a one-time gift or recurring gift. Go ahead and hit next and then confirm. Another way you can give is with the Love Church app. You can download it from the iOS store or the Google Play Store. Once it's installed, just open it up. You'll see a button that says give. Tap that, select the amount, whether it's a one-time gift or a reoccurring, and then hit give.